Thank you so much. Just going to share my screen quickly. There we go. Okay. Thank you so much for coming. So my name again is Saskia Van Kampen. My my email address is here. In case you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to send me a note. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about how your portfolio is your brand. So if you think about Coca-Cola and you think about Nike, those are all brands. Your portfolio is basically a brand. So you have to start thinking about it as a cohesive book. So your portfolio can get you into the school that you want to get into, it can get you into the job that you want to get into, and it can take multiple forms. It is ideal if you have your own URL with a website designed by you. However, this is usually not the case, as many of you are putting together a portfolio to be trained on how to build your own website. So when you're applying for schools, that's not something that we're looking for. You can use a popular platform such as Behance or Format or Choroflot. However, many institutions will have you upload images to their online portfolio review platform, and each of them are going to have very unique requirements. And so you need to make sure you understand their requirements and not just go by what I'm saying today, because everyone's going to be unique. Okay, so your portfolio is a narrative. In order to make a lasting impression, you have to tell your story. And most of the time, portfolio reviews right now to get into schools, they don't even do it face-to-face anymore. So you have to upload it and it's sent out into the ether and it has to talk for you. So your portfolio needs to demonstrate your breadth as a creative individual. And the reviewers are going to look to see if you're a good fit, what kind of work you're interested in, and what kind of work that you do. What are your capabilities? Is there potential, and is there passion? So what do you include in your portfolio? Depending on where you are applying, there will be specific requirements, as I've noted before. But usually there are the following 4 elements: a bio, which is a blurb about yourself, a statement of intent for every project visuals, and caption those visuals wherever necessary, and a sketchbook or process work. Many times you will be asked to provide pages from your sketchbooks or process work to accompany some of the main work in your portfolio. If they do not ask for this, I highly, highly, highly recommend you include it as one of your portfolio works. I have, in reviewing portfolios, I have sometimes seen all the work that they showed and they've gotten in on their sketchbook alone because the sketchbook was so strong in demonstrating ideas and curiosity. So just as simple as these pages here that I've just sort of tacked these in for my own sketchbooks. I've included ideations, I've included thoughts and notes, I've included just doodles and sketches. So anything and everything, just throw it in there, capture it, and really, even if they don't ask for it, make sure you include it because it's super important. Now, you need to write about yourself. I'm not going to lie, writing about yourself is one of the hardest things to do. We don't like to brag. We find it very difficult to recognize our strengths, but your bio needs to be written and it needs to be written well. You might be given a word count for this. It's usually pretty short and it needs to contain a lot of information. So your first sentence should briefly introduce yourself. What's your name and who are you? Where are you coming from? The following sentences, you need to discuss your personal and professional values. What do you believe in? You need to support these points with the details, including skills and attributes. So And skills and attributes are not just what software do you know and what sort of media are you good at, but also, are you well organized? Do you like to read books? Those sort of things are really important. What factors make you good at what you do? Talk about who and what inspires you. One of the questions I always used to ask folks when they came for their portfolio interviews, when they used to be face-to-face, I always asked them, who inspires you? Because I wanted to know that they had done their research into the career that they chose to go into. And so if they could list off a couple names of folks that they found really inspiring, I knew that this is something that they really wanted. So put in a couple people who inspire you, if designers, illustrators, whoever. And then you want to end with what kind of design you're passionate about. Why should you be admitted? Why should you be hired? Okay, statement of intent. A statement of intent needs to accompany every piece you put in your portfolio. Every project should be and the reason for this is it's one thing to just show an image, but you're not there to tell us about it. So just an image doesn't really say, what were you trying to do? What were you exploring? What was your concept? So this will help the reviewer understand what you were doing. Also good to note was if it was an assignment from school, or if it was something that you just did on your own, or if it was client driven. Did you actually do this for somebody? Make sure you try to include at least a couple pieces that are personal work. If I only see assignments from school, it sort of twigs in my mind that that individual doesn't do anything on their own, which makes me wonder if they're truly passionate. So this is an example of a statement of intent that I wrote about one of my pieces. So this is a personal project. I gotta move my window here so I can read it. This was a personal project in which collage was explored using thread instead of glue to hold the pieces together. The pieces with text are copies of text found in vintage advertisements for women's beauty. The challenge was how to hold the pieces together and in place while sewing them, and how to leave empty spaces yet still hold a sense of shape. The end result shows how these notions of beauty are being eroded by women who no longer succumb to social pressures and the manipulation of advertisements. I didn't describe the piece. You don't have to describe the piece because the image is there and we can see what it looks like. We want to know what you were thinking when you did it. Okay, rewrite, revise, and refine. A lot of times people don't take enough time with their writing and it's sloppy, it's poor grammar, and it looks like it's a first draft. You have to think about writing as if it's a creative process. It is a process that requires reworking and refinement. Use Microsoft Word or another kind of software that has spelling and has grammar that's highlighted if something's wrong. Have someone read it who is impartial. Don't get your mom to do it. Don't get your dad to do it. Don't get your sister to do it. You need a teacher, a mentor, or a tutor. Someone who's going to be able to say, this needs work. It's not there yet. And you need that honesty. And avoid repetitive sentence structures such as I am this, I like that, I want to, I. Make it interesting. What's next here? Oops. Okay, here we go. Okay, now on to the portfolio. The portfolio, you need to think about voice, coherence, and staging. Voice meaning visual voice. You want to demonstrate what you wrote in your bio in how you present your work. That's brand. That's a brand, right? It's a whole cohesive unit. So whatever you write needs to be shown as well in the work and in the design of your portfolio. There needs to be coherence, and don't just simply upload digital files. You want to create a personality. So you want to photograph your work and you want to think about context, lighting, process, and intended use. So context. I did this work for a brewing company, and I went to the launching event and I made sure I got photographs of my work in a situation where it was meant to be seen. So I have these great photos of the objects in use, and that's the logo on the cup. So if you've done something like a logo for, maybe it's on a t-shirt, make sure you have somebody put the t-shirt on and photograph it. Sometimes photographs backfire. So this is a piece that I did for a client. They're an online networking company, and they commissioned me to do a string art piece, something that I'd never done before, actually. They wanted their logo to be done in string art for the lobby of their company. It was huge. It was very, very heavy. They're located in Hamilton. I was in Toronto at the time. So they came, they picked it up and they brought it to Hamilton and they installed it themselves. And so I asked them to take a photograph of it for me. And you can see that this photograph is a disaster. It doesn't say anything about the work. The grate's missing off of the vent. So it's just really, it's not a good shot. So I can't really use this. It's also low res and blurry. So this is what I did. I made sure I documented the process. And I find that these images are actually far more interesting than the finished piece anyways, because it shows the hand quality, it shows the different angles, it shows close-ups, it shows activity. So this is what will bring your portfolio to life. Sometimes you just can't make it work, and so you have to fake it. This is a piece that I did for RGD. It was a conference proceedings and it was completely digitally published. And so it was meant to be viewed on an iPad or a laptop. And I don't have a laptop. So online you can download all kinds of mock-up templates. And that's what this is. It's a digital file, and they actually have, all you have to do is you have to place your image in a layer and it will like mush it into the shape of the device or the mug or the water bottle that you want this thing to put onto. Now, I don't recommend doing this for everything because it's very generic. It looks like a mock-up taken off of the internet. So you don't want to overuse these, but they do really help you in a pinch. Tell the story, tell the narrative. So as you can see, a lot of my work is very hands-on. I love to work, I'm a collage artist. I work with a lot of stitched materials. I really love materiality. And so when I did my website, I didn't want to just do it digitally because that doesn't say anything about me and what I do. So I actually created every page for my website with collage. I took scans and then I digitized the scans to be buttons that you could work. So I showed this. I showed that, look, my website, this is how I built my website. I didn't code it. I built it out of collage. And so this is one of these templates. And as you can see, it looks really fake. It looks really staged. And it doesn't have my personality in it at all. But these have my personality in it. It really talks about how I built it, the process that I went through. If you've done something that you've actually had produced, the way you show that it was actually produced is you show it in multiple copies, right? So I did work for Canada Post. I did a bunch of stamps and a bunch of first day covers. And so I stack them up. I show that this is actually produced, this was actually done. So it's kind of like a still life, if you will. If there's interactivity or if there's something special, show it. Again, this would need to be captioned because you probably look at this and you're like, I don't really understand what's going on here. That's why you need to caption. But here's a handcrafted exercise book for elements and principles of design. It's all hand printed. In the back is this little envelope full of lines, organic and paper, that you can work with as you go through the exercises in the book. But this would have to be explained, but you also want to show it. You can't just explain it without the words, and you can't just have the image without the words. So you have to have both to make it come to life. Notice that my hands are in the picture. My hands are holding the booklet open. This is the way you show it's a real thing. It's not just a digital file. I actually built this book. I printed it and I'm holding it in my hand. And this is a poster I did where I took packaging, I cut it all up, I peeled all the backing off of it, I sewed it together like a quilt, and here I am holding it up just to show the size. It gives it a sense of size. It shows that it was produced, and it has me in the photo. So these are sort of fun ways that you can show your work and give your portfolio life and a personality. Interesting side stories, right? So here's a little graphic novel I did where I did a whole bunch of different things. I sewed dolls, I illustrated, I collaged, I did it all. And so I showed the doll, and then show how you used it in the final product. Okay, so that is like a real quick run through of some of the things I feel are super important when you put your portfolio together. So now what I have is a couple little exercises where I want to ask you to think like a reviewer. So if you were in the shoes of a reviewer and you were looking at a portfolio that contained a good bio, one digital drawing, one typographic exploration, one pencil drawing, and one photo. Each piece is accompanied by a statement of intent. There's no sketchbook, and there's no process work accompanying any of these finished pieces. What do you think the reviewer would do? So, bio's great. 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces in a portfolio. They're all accompanied by statement of intent, exactly like we asked for. But there's no sketchbook, there's no process work, and there's only 4 pieces. That's a no. That's a no. It's not showing me that there's passion. There's not showing me that there's been enough attention. There's no sketchbook, so I don't even know if this person doodles or thinks. I don't have any notion of who they are as an individual, who they are as a creative thinker, okay? 10 pieces, 10 to 12 pieces. Some portfolios will actually have a max because we don't want 20 or 30. We don't have time to look at that, but 4 is simply not enough. Okay. This portfolio contains 12 pieces of work in total that show engagement with diverse materials and techniques. A few have process work to support their process. The bio's missing. There's no sketchbook. And most of the images do not have a statement of intent. So the problem with this one is the bio was required. The sketchbook's not required, but the bio is required. If they don't fulfill the requirements, that sort of shows me and the reviewers that this person doesn't know how to follow instructions. That doesn't bode well for higher education learning. You need to be able to follow instructions. You need to be able to read through, and you need to come through with all the required pieces. And the sketchbook, even though it's not required, it's a nice to have. It's not going to make or break. It might make, but it won't break a portfolio if it's not required. Oh, and then if the images don't have a statement of intent, even though you have 12 images, even if they're wonderful, I still don't know what your intent was. So I don't have that little window into who you are as a creative individual. Okay, this portfolio contains a bio, which talks about how they want to get into the design program. The work in a portfolio is all beautifully rendered anime characters, and each rendering has a statement of intent. The sketchbook is great and shows a lot of exploration into the various character designs. So this person has all the things we're asking for. The issue with this is they said they want to get into the design program and they're only showing anime characters. There's nothing wrong with anime characters, but if you're asking to get into the design program, we need to see other things. So try to show a broad variety of exploration. Give a photograph, give pencil sketch, give painting, give typographic layout, give a digital design, a digital illustration. Show us what you got. But if you limit it to one thing and one style, you're sort of backing yourself into a corner and you're already stuck in one thing. It doesn't show that you're open. Okay, this portfolio contains a bio that indicates they're interested in the illustration program and that they often look at Marcos Chin's character drawings for inspiration. Fabulous right off the bat, right? They've done their research, they have inspiration, they've got this great bio. The organization of the work in the portfolio flows nicely and is visually cohesive. The sketchbook shows exploration, revision, and refinement, but the work is actually pretty average. This is a really good thing that might calm everybody down. If the sketchbook is amazing, if the organization is great, if the bio is inspired, if they've done their work, the average work doesn't matter. I know that this person wants this. This person shows initiative. This person follows directions. They've got passion because they've got sketches. And they're coming to the school to learn the skills to get their work to look amazing, right? So average work is okay. That's why you're coming to school. So that's this is a yes for me. All right, that's where I'm going to end, and I'm going to throw it over to questions. Should I stop share?
Saskia, it doesn't matter. You can keep it on. Any questions? I think you covered everything. I wish I knew this when I was looking to go to school.
Me too. I think I had about 25 things when I went for my face-to-face interview. So nerve-wracking.
Yeah. Okay. We have a question. How many finished pieces should be in our portfolio?
Yeah, so that might vary depending on the requirements for the school that you apply to. The recommendation is between 12 and 15. 15's on the higher end. 12 is probably around where you want to be.
Okay. What are the portfolio requirements to get into a video game industry with concept art?
That you would have to go specifically to the school that you're looking at and figure out what they're looking for. They might have very specific. I know that Sheridan has very specific things that they are looking for, and they're very clearly outlined. Okay. For a school like OCAD, they're more open, but I don't think they have a program like that you're looking for specifically.
But some of those portfolio ideas that you had mentioned would still be suitable, like the sketchbook and show various types of work that they're doing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if that sounds to me like character development is really important there, and maybe scenery, landscapes.
Does every piece need to have process work?
No. Think about time. I think the maximum amount of time a reviewer is going to spend is 7 minutes. When we were in person, I think it was like 5 minutes max. And if we went over, it was 7 minutes, and that's first face to face. So if you had 2 or 3 pieces that robustly showed process, then I would totally look through all that process and be great. But if everything had process, I'm just going to skip through it really fast. So you want to do the process well and on pieces that have really good process to share. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It does. What would these recommendations be, or would these recommendations be the same for a professional portfolio?
That's a great question. So one of the things that I've tried to help put together at our school is our capstone course for portfolio development. And it's usually Behance or Coreflot or Format, which are standard templated portfolio online websites that you can sort of upload, and they're industry standard and they're fine. And everything I've said, I would recommend you do. Process work, maybe not a sketchbook. A sketchbook is a nice to have and it's like an extra, but I'm not sure if folks would be interested in seeing your sketchbook for a job. But definitely statement of intent, definitely a bio, definitely process work on some, not all. Yeah, absolutely for work as well.
Okay. For process work photos, how many photos should you include before it's too much?
Okay, that's a really, really good question. And it's a tough one to answer because without seeing it, it's difficult, but you want it to look good, right? If it's just a scrambled mess and really hard for somebody to see, like initial sketches can be like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. So maybe you make those really small. If you did like a whole bunch of different logo tests, put them at like 1 inch and like make a pattern of all the different versions you did so that you squish them into a small, just to show how many ideas you had before you moved on to the final one. You have to design it, right? You don't just throw it in, you design it and you make it look pretty. And so I think if you design it and you make it look pretty and you make it intriguing and you make people want to look at it, I think you can have a lot because it shows process. Process is huge. Process is a lot. So you don't want to just put in 3 sketches and say that's your process because that's going to backfire. So a lot, you need to show a lot, but you need to make it look pretty. You need to make rough sketches look pretty.
Not an easy thing.
Yeah.
Here's a good one too. Should we include multiple different pages for a portfolio? Example, my work, about me, my skills, etc. Or should all this information be on one single page?
Oh, no, all different pages. All different pages. So on Behance, each project is a different little icon that you can click on and it opens up its own page. When again, that depends on if it's Behance or if it's Interfolio. If you're applying to a school and they're using a platform, something like Interfolio, they may say upload it as one PDF. But that PDF can be multiple pages. And so you need to design it and organize it so it's easy to go through. Sometimes they'll say upload 15 images. And so if you've got 15 images, you design it, you put the image and then you put the text underneath, the statement of intent underneath on one page, next image with like a series of process, statement of intent, get it all on that one page. But don't try to stuff all of the information that you want to get in your portfolio on page. It's never going to work. So each project should have its own page if that's what they're asking for. So again, it's going to depend on what the school's requirements are. And what I would do is I would sort of like see what they're asking for, design it all, get all the pieces ready, so that when you actually go to submit stuff, you're just plugging things into the holes. Yeah.
And every school is different. While the key portfolio items are the same, each school is going to require something different. So it's always important to have stuff kind of separate so you can just throw it in.
Yes, that's a really good point. So yeah, almost have like a file folder on your desktop with different sort of formats, one PDF of everything all together, PDFs of separate projects, right? So that depending on who wants what, you can just plug and play.
Yeah, good advice. How important would human anatomy be for illustration portfolios?
Great, fabulous. Yep. Throw it in as one piece. If you've done like several different anatomy drawings, put them all on one page, or design it so that it becomes one piece out of your 12.
Here's someone, would you think about adding a video about yourself in a digital portfolio?
That's a great idea, right? Because it shows me who you are. One thing, okay, so I loved the face-to-face because I got a sense of who the individual was, and you could really chat and sort of have like a mini relationship while you were looking at the work. And I really missed that in the digital portfolio. The digital portfolio is very kind of like sterile. And so that's a really interesting idea. You'd have to do it very thoughtfully and design it. And you're going to be judged on the look, right? So, but I think that's a fabulous idea. Why not make that one of your projects, one of your pieces of work? Fabulous.
Should we have a web portfolio and a hard copy portfolio, or the hard copy portfolio is now kind of going away with the digital?
I don't know anybody who has a hard copy anymore, which is really sad. If you went to a job interview, it'd be nice to have a paper portfolio to show printed pieces. But for a lot of cases, that's not even necessary anymore. It's nice to have, though, just as a professional designer, it's nice to have a physical copy of all the work that you've done. So I think that's a personal preference thing.
Yeah. Let's see. What are you expecting in the description about yourself?
Like I said, it's one of the hardest things you have to do. So when I do this in my class, I get all my students to do this when I'm teaching. If you are really struggling, have somebody interview you and record it. And then take that recording and work that into your bio, because it's easier to talk just off the cuff about who you are and what you like to do than to sit down there and have to write about how awesome you are. So that's a nice little tip that I actually got from a student. The student said, can we just interview each other? Because I don't know what to talk about myself.
That is
right?
My goodness, it's so true. It is so hard to write about yourself, but when you're talking, it's a little bit easier to get it out there. What great advice.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna
another thing, and this is going to come from me and my very first job interview. I tell all my students this story because I learned so much and it scared the crap out of me. It was a face-to-face interview, so I had my book in front of me and I'm going through the pages. And the words I was using, well, this is just a project I did for school for this, and this is just a package that I did. And the language I was using was very sort of self-deprecating and making my work sound less than. the guy who was interviewing me slammed my portfolio shut in front of my face and said, start again and be more confident. So you need to be confident in your language. Don't diminish what you've done. Talk about the work as if, like, you should be proud of your work. So talk about it with pride.
Yeah, for sure. I know it's difficult, but yeah, I mean, creative confidence is what it's all about. We've
Yeah.
heard that many times throughout
Mhm.
the past week. Um, what kind of pieces are favored for an architectural design program? If you can answer that one.
I don't know if I can answer that. I mean, we at OCAD, I was looking at portfolios for graphic design, illustration, and advertising. But we did have environmental design and we had um, industrial design. But yeah, you know what? I could attempt to answer that, but I don't want to give wrong advice. I would definitely ask specifically at the school that you want to apply what sort of things they're expecting in a portfolio.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that is definitely refer to the school's site for
Mhm.
that. Is there a preferred order for the portfolio? I.e., does your strongest piece go first or?
You know what? There are so many theories about this. And when I was reviewing portfolios, it really didn't make any difference to me. Now that just might be me, but yeah, you know what? The sketchbooks were my favorite thing to look at because they're messy, they're all over the place, but it just shows so much personality and exploration and thinking and thought process. I would, I would I would definitely either put the sketchbook at the very beginning or at the very end. Don't stuff that in the middle. You may want to sort of, again, with the narrative, try to sort of tell a story. So maybe I wouldn't put like a photograph, a sketch, a photograph, a sculpture, and the photo. I would like, here are my photographs, here are my sculptures, sort of organize it. But I don't think putting your strongest at the front or at the back is going to make a difference. And if there's something, if there's something that you're like, I don't know if I should put this in or not, trust your instincts. If you're not proud of it, if there's something that worries you in the back of your head, don't put it in. Or try to figure out what's worrying you about it and fix it. Right?
Yeah, good advice. I think that's all oh no, one question just came in. um, will you make the PDF and the record? Oh, yes, this will be recorded. It is being recorded and will be available on creativefutures.ca. Any more questions?
There's also that handout that's available as well.
And we did put it into the chat link before, chat link, so you can download the handout or go to Creative Futures. It's there as well. What if I don't really have an art style and the program needs a few pieces?
Can that question be rephrased? I don't really understand it.
I guess the student feels that they don't really have a defined art style. But
You shouldn't have a style yet.
Okay.
Yeah. We're looking for
variety,
exploration, risk taking. Most students at this level don't have a style yet. In fact, you might not even have a style when you've graduated. A personal style takes a really long time to hone.
And you're going to change it too as you learn, as you continue to learn. You'll massage it into something else for sure.
Yeah.
I think that, oh, another one just popped up. Another couple just popped up. Could we add mood boards and things that inspire us into our portfolio?
Yes, research. Research is part of process. That's a great question. I didn't sort of clarify that. When I think process in my head, I just naturally think process includes research. So yes, absolutely. That's any research you do, mood boards being one of those research methods, include all of that. Absolutely. Um, a lot of students don't realize how important research is when it comes to creative design and illustration. So yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Are digital pieces better than traditional pieces for unique portfolios?
It would be the same as that sort of think like a designer. If all of your pieces are digital, I'm going to wonder. Okay, so when you start in a design or an illustration or a program, in the foundation year, you're going to have to draw. So if you don't show us that you know how to draw, that could be a problem. So you'd want to, again, variety. It's if you don't particularly care for traditional and you prefer digital, you can, the bulk of it can be digital, but definitely show, again, sketchbook with sketches, and some variety.
Yeah, and I've heard that from other schools as well, is that they are looking at that variety to make sure that, to go through that entire kind of creative process. So
Yeah.
um, that's good advice. I think that about wraps it up for this session.
Those were great questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing these tips with the students. It was really informative. And definitely this session will be available on Creative Futures as well as all the other sessions over the past 10 days. Thank you so much, Saskia. And definitely don't forget to go to creativefutures.ca to see what schools are offering creative programs, and you can explore where your talents fit from some of our videos. Thank you again, everyone.